Hey guys, Steven here with SCS Pickleball, and welcome back to another episode. In this episode, we're going to be breaking down the new Jool Pro IV paddles. We're going to be analyzing a lot of the other power paddles, including the Proton Flamingo, the Mark Unmarked, some new updates on the C45 paddle from Franklin with some perimeter weighting on it. That was very interesting. And we're going to be kind of analyzing and sort of understanding what the differences are between all these different paddles so that you can navigate if any of these would be good for your game. So without further ado, let's dig straight into it. Okay, so let's jump into the 11/6/24 power paddles, and I'm going to give you a few updates on these. So I think the pre-production models specifically are what drove the hype for these paddles. I don't know if that was planned or not, but the pre-production models really wowed me and seemingly a lot of the other reviewers. There was a little bit of a different feel off the face, and the general grit and the spin on the pre-production models was insane, amazing. Then we get to the post-production models, and the feeling off the face is a little bit different, a little bit more linear, what I would kind of just generally, doesn't really stand out in any particular way. And then the spin, of course, drops 100 to 150 RPM because they changed the texture on the face to be a little bit more fine. Still great paddles, right? Really, really solid, great price. Especially for Gen 3. But ultimately, the pre-production models were generally better than the post-production models. So that's kind of my update there. I still like it. The Vapor is still something that I'm rotating in quite a bit, but less and less these days, to be quite honest. It is a really solid paddle, and when I first picked this paddle up, I thought the shape was a little odd, but I do really like the shape. I think we'll see more shapes similar to this in the future. But yeah, ultimately, and here's what I've been kind of picking up more so than the 11/6/24 power paddles recently. I've been playing a lot with the Joolas. I do quite like those, but I think my big standouts right now, this Mark Unmarked paddle, which I really like. The grit is insane. This is the same grit texture that we saw at the pre-production models of the 11/6/24 power paddles. It's an elongated paddle. It has a 5.5 inch grip, but it has 5.75 inches of utilizable space because of how the throat kind of comes up here. It's pretty thin at the bottom of the throat here, which is nice. But I just measured the utilizable space, and it is a 5.75 inch handle. So you can see I can get way more surface area on my hands on the handle on this one in comparison to the Flamingo, and even in comparison to the 11/6/24 power paddles. The spin on this is top percentile, very good spin. The sweet spot is really solid. Again, we're looking at a 10 millimeter core cell size here. So what this is it's essentially a paddle tech, but it's thermoformed. And that is a wonderful combination. I was actually playing with a few buddies yesterday who are 4 or 5 plus, and they honestly, this paddle and the J2K Plus were their personal picks out of everything that I brought. I brought the Jool Pro IVs. I brought the 11/6/24 power paddles. I brought all of the carbon TruFoams. I brought the Franklin C45. I think that's about it. And then, yeah, this one and the J2K Plus were the standouts for all of us. And for particular reasons. So if you like an elongated paddle and you want essentially the same performance as a lot of these Gen 3 paddles, given the 10 millimeter core cell size here, you are getting power that is comparable to a lot of these Gen 3 paddles, but what you're also getting is more durability. It's not Gen 3, so it's going to be far more durable than a lot of these Gen 3 paddles are, because we're seeing a lot of core crushing and a lot of breakdown pretty quickly with a lot of these Gen 3 paddles. And on the Mark Unmarked, you can use code SCS Pickleball to save 10% if you're interested in one of these. There's no affiliation, no bias going into this, of course. I just plug that in every once in a while just because it does help the channel out quite a bit. I'm actually using some of the proceeds from that recently to upgrade my audio. So you'll be seeing my audio get much better over the coming videos. But all of the money that I get, I really just try and pour back into this with the new setup and new audio coming in. I really want to make this the best channel for you. And my whole passion is to just help you navigate the paddle space, because I want you to have transparent information that you feel like is coming from a very honest and genuine place. So the J2K is a standout mainly due to just the organic feel and the overall pop and power on this paddle. The pop and the power is very solid on this paddle. Spin is very high, top percentile. It is full Kevlar, which is really nice. You get that unique feeling off the face. That's where a little bit more of that pop comes from off the face. And generally speaking, it's just a really solid paddle. If I was going to go to a tournament tomorrow, it would be one of these two. I don't that's tough. I've been moving a little bit away from standard and wide body shapes. I have been using a lot more hybrid and elongated shapes recently because I do like the extra reach, and I've been forcing myself to hit a little bit higher on the face, which tends to give me a little bit more spin and a little bit more power on some of my drives and serves, which allows me to get easier third shot drops, which has been really nice. So that's kind of why I've been moving more towards hybrids and elongateds recently. But of course, there is the general issue of durability with Gen 3 paddles. I will say, anecdotally, subjectively, in my experience thus far, I have put a ton of hours on this J2K Plus, and I've only seen it break in just a little bit. It's maybe I got lucky, right? Maybe I got lucky, but I haven't seen much break in on this paddle. And I do have a stock version of this as well. So I have a stock one that I keep in my closet, nice and clean, and I take it out every once in a while, and I'll hit a few with it in comparison to this just to kind of see what the differences are. And there's not a huge difference. So that leads me to believe that Honolulu did construct these very well, and that they offered the program of being able to buy the extra ones 50% off as kind of just a courtesy of the fact that all the other Gen 3s in the market are breaking down faster than Gen 2s did, and especially faster than Gen 1s did. So I haven't had any issues with it. And it's a great paddle, again, at a great price. As far as Honolulu goes, you can use code STSPICKLEBALL to save $20 off any of their Kevlar paddles. And you can use code STS10 to save 10% off anything else on their website. Their structure is a little funky, but just wanted to throw that in there as well. You're getting the exact same performance out of these as you would with the 11.624 powers, and very relative performance to the Joolas. There's a little bit more going on in the Joolas that I can't talk about right now that do differentiate them, and you can feel it in practice, but we'll get into that on the full dedicated review. So let's jump into the Carbon TruFoam update. I have been using actually the Carbon TruFoam 1 quite a bit, and at first, being a paddle reviewer, first thing I do when I get paddles is I test twist weight and swing weight. And the swing weight was a bit high and the twist weight was a bit low. But I'm starting to realize that that's not the end of the world, really. I'm actually moving towards enjoying twist weights that aren't overly high because it allows me to maneuver the paddle a little bit better in my hand, right? So I can really kind of just flick over a ball very quickly with certain paddles if I can keep the weighting in a certain range. And we'll talk about that more. We'll be doing a deep dive on a Let's Say video here soon. But I have been using the Carbon TruFoam 1 quite a bit. I've actually been really liking it a lot. It is a top contender for me and has felt really good. I'm surprised with it. So I wanted to give you an update there because I have been moving a little bit away from wide body and standard shape paddles and moving towards hybrids and elongateds. So it kind of sparked the interest to say, well, let's go give the Carbon TruFoam 1 a little bit more of a chance here and really see what we can do with it, even with a little bit of perimeter weighting or not. And I've been playing around with perimeter weighting, no perimeter weighting. And as this is kind of broken in a little bit, that foam's kind of softened up just a touch. It feels really good. So keep that in mind. So I don't think the Carbon 1 is out in as far as choices go for the Carbon TruFoams. I know everybody's been hyping up the Carbon TruFoam 2, which I did as well in my review. But moving more towards hybrids and elongateds recently, I think the Carbon TruFoam 1 is a really solid paddle. So if you're in the market for a TruFoam paddle, don't count out the Carbon TruFoam 1. So just want to throw that in there as well. Okay, so let's jump into these new Joola Pro 4 paddles. I can't talk about these too much. I did sign an NDA and I'm very respectful of that process. I'm also respectful of Joola in general and just want to make sure that I do right by them and do right by you. So I will talk about what I can talk about. What I can't talk about will, of course, be coming out in my full dedicated review of these paddles. So for me, it's all about respect and objective metrics and really understanding what these paddles can offer you as a player. So it's tough. My favorite of the two shapes right now is probably the Agassi paddle. I do really like this shape. I feel like the sweet spot is just a little bit larger, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit more spin off of it as well. I've had some really crazy dipping drives and dipping serves with this paddle. Some that actually hit and skidded forward because they had so much spin that they maybe only bounced like 6 inches off the ground. This happened yesterday during a very extensive play session with some of my buddies. And yeah, these paddles are playing very, very well. I can't really talk about the construction or the core type, but I can say that they are different from the 3S or the previous iterations. But that's all I'm going to say, because I do really respect the NDA and what I signed there. So yeah, I think both of them are playing very, very well. I was surprised by the performance. I really was. Very plush off the face, really good dwell time. The face feels very smooth, which is very interesting. I was really not expecting to get too much spin off of these, but I was very surprised by how much spin that I was getting. Power is solid, pop is solid. They are more plush. So I would say the pop is not on the very, very high end, but kind of middle-ish high end. And then the power is definitely there. So I would land these pretty much in the middle of the pack as far as a lot of the power paddles that have come out recently. I will say, generally speaking, I was honestly impressed with the performance. Now, I was really expecting them to just toss out another 3S. That was actually my prediction on this event. I thought that it was just going to be a 3S, rebranded again into a Pro 4, and I was wrong on that. So there are new nuances going on in the core, but we'll get into that on March 4th when those release. So next up, let's go ahead and talk about the new Proton Flamingo. This paddle has been getting a ton of hype recently in the space, and for good reason, I would say. It's a unique paddle. It's very interesting. The design of this paddle made me think for a little bit, because it is Gen 3. They're utilizing 2 rows of foam around the perimeter of the polypropylene core. The grit is solid, but not overly gritty where you'd get flagged at a tournament, but definitely pushing the boundaries there. And the core millimeter cell size on this paddle is 6 millimeters. So what we know as far as cell size and how that affects performance thus far is that the smaller the cell size, generally speaking, the more plush, the more kind of dwell time you're going to get off that paddle. The smaller the cell size tends to give a little bit more control aspects, whereas a larger cell size tends to give more power aspects. Paddles I don't really know of too many paddles that are 6 millimeter in polypropylene core cell size, but paddles like the J2K, J2K Plus, most paddles on the market, I would say, average around 8 millimeters in cell size. So that's kind of your general average paddle feeling off the face. So this one's going to be a little bit different than maybe what you're used to as far as the feeling off the face. And if you've ever played with a paddle tech, specifically an ESQC, ALWC, TKOC, TKOCX, those are all going to be 10 millimeter cell size. And that's why they're a little bit hotter off the face. They have a little bit more power and a little bit more punch off the face, just because that cell size does impact the general performance of the paddle. So it was really interesting for me for Proton to come out with a power-centric paddle being Gen 3, but utilizing a 6 millimeter core cell size. But I will say, in practice, it's a solid paddle. It's not as powerful as some of the other offerings available right now. But I will say that it does everything very, very well. So spin is really solid. That 6 millimeter core cell size does give it a little bit more touch off the face, which is nice. So, the control aspects of this are probably better than some of the other power paddles, but then that's at the cost of more power. So that's really up to you to decide. But one thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is, they're saying on their website it's a 5.375 inch handle. I just measured it up to the top of the rubber band here, and it's a 5.25 inch handle. Maybe utilizable space might be a touch longer than that, but it is specifically a 5.25 inch handle, barely even 5.25 inches. So for me, with a 5.25 inch handle like this, given that it's an elongated shape, I've never been a huge fan of that combination. I do like a little bit more space on my grip, especially because I've been working in my two-handed backhands a lot for returns, and I've been really trying to work in two-handed backhands for volleys as well on speed ups and counters. So it does feel a little crowded. I have pretty big hands. I'm 6'2", so that might also be an issue for me just personally. But if you're the kind of person that doesn't really like to utilize too many two-handed shots, this might be a great pedal for you. But again, it is fairly expensive, $280. And but I will say the performance is there. It has good solid power, good solid pop, definitely top tier spin, and a pretty good touch off the face. So yeah, it's a solid paddle. I don't know if I'd put it in my personal top 3 right now, but I would put it in my personal top 5. So that's kind of how it stacks up as far as general paddle. So we'll be doing a full dedicated review on this very soon, but that is the kind of initial breakdown of the Proton Flamingo. So lastly, let's go ahead and just do a couple updates on the Franklin C45. I've been doing some perimeter weighting setups on this, some new weighting setups. Right now I have a 3-gram strip at the top right corner, 3-gram strip on the top left corner, and then I also have a 3-gram strip on the top of the perimeter right in the middle. And that's been playing pretty nicely. Again, I think this is definitely a paddle for somebody who really likes to customize paddles, or for somebody who really wants an extremely light paddle out of the box. Playing this stock is a little tough for me in my personal game. I do like something with a little bit more plow through and a little bit more stability. Almost more plow through than stability is what I'm more concerned with these days, because when I go to hit the ball, I did leave quite a lot of balls short on drops, and some of my drives were a little underwhelming, and the distance was hard to kind of navigate because it was so light. So that is something to keep in mind, right? So if you're somebody that really likes to customize things and you like to get into all the weighting and really make something very specific to your game, this could be a great option for you. But if you're looking for something that is more ideal stock right out of the box, I think the best stock paddles on the table are going to be the Mark Unmarked and the new Joola Pro IV Agassi. I think these play extremely well stock. Specifically the Mark Unmarked. This particular paddle has a swing weight of 120.59 and a twist weight of 6.41. It also has, of course, like we talked about, the usable grip length of 5.75 inches, which is a really nice combination. Swing weight might be a touch high for some, but overall, given the fact that it is an elongated paddle with so much tech built into it, I think it's pretty solid metrics, to be quite honest. And this has felt really good stock for me. So I pulled it out of the box, was able to play extremely well with it. You know, I might mess around with a little bit of weight, maybe close to the throat, maybe just like in this kind of general range, just to see if I can make it feel just a touch more stable and just have a touch more plow through. But ultimately, this paddle plays extremely well stock. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't really want to worry about doing too much with weighting or trying to customize your paddle, you just want to grab and go, I would say that the Mark Unmarked is exceptional for that, and the Joola Pro IV is also exceptional for that. Specifically the Agassi shape, I feel plays extremely well stock. So those would be my top picks for somebody who doesn't really want to deal with customization and just wants something that they can grab and go and utilize stock. So what are my personal favorites of the bunch? Unbiasedly, I would say, let's see here. I love the Agassi. I love the Mark Unmarked. Proton solid. I think for me, if you're the kind of person that is okay with a grip that is a bit smaller in the 5.25 to 5.35 inch kind of range of utilizability, I think this might work well for you. I think for me overall, if I was gonna go to a tournament and play with a paddle, this one wouldn't be it, just because the grip is a little too short for me personal, and just for my personal game. But feel wise, solid, but just the grip length is just not perfect for me in my personal game. I think these are my top 3 picks right now. So I would say the Andre Agassi Pro 4, great paddle. Really, really, really like this paddle. I gravitate towards that one quite a bit. The J2K Plus, really, really great paddle. I gravitate towards this more than anything else that I play with right now, to be quite honest. It's just very organic. It's a hybrid shape, so that's helping me transition out of the standard kind of wide body shape area, move towards something that I can get a little bit more power and a little bit more rip on, essentially, just on the ball. And it's just a really solid paddle. I like the pop that it has from the Kevlar as well, which really helps with hand battles. So that's been really nice. I've won more hand battles with this than anything else on the table, because the swing weight on this one is 114.81, and the twist weight is 7.11. So again, this is pretty solid stock too. Swing weight might be, I mean, that's pretty solid swing weight. Might be a little low for some, but Those are good metrics. I love the sweet spot that I get from a wide body, but I still do gravitate more towards a hybrid or an elongated shaped paddle these days. So that's why, you know, the J2K was my top pick for 2024. I just loved that paddle. But that's also probably why I really like this Agassi Pro paddle from Joola. So being one of my top picks in this session, great paddle, really good stock, top tier spin, one of those paddles that you just pick up with, you play with, the grip feels awesome, just really, really, really top tier paddle. The other one is the J2K Plus. So of course, the J2K was one of my top picks for 2024, or was my top pick for 2024. And just getting a little bit of added power and pop and more spin has been awesome. I win hand battles more with this paddle than anything else on the table because the swing weight is at about 115, which is nice. And the twist weight's high, it's at about 7.11. And just that little bit of added pop has helped with hand battles, and the added spin has helped with dip over the net. So I can do little drive drop combos and stuff with this very easily. And again, just very organic in the hand, super nice. Every single person that I've let try this paddle picks it up and says, oh yeah, that feels nice, that feels really good, and then they play with it and they tend to really, really like it. So this is also a top pick from today. And the Mark Unmarked surprised me like crazy. This is a top tier paddle, very, very good. Insanity grit, again, just as much grit as the pre-production 11624 powers. Great sweet spot. This is a thermoformed paddle tech paddle. This is what we've been wanting. This is what we've been looking forward to for quite a while, and we finally have it, and it does play extremely, extremely well. So those are probably my top 3 picks for my own personal game. So with that all said, I hope this video was very helpful for you. I appreciate you sticking around if you made it this far. You can click right here if you want to see my video on the Titan ball machine, which is the best ball machine of 2024 and even currently in 2025. Make sure to subscribe to see more videos just like this one. Have a freaking wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.